Hello. Um, I wanted to just do a really quick add-on to the video I made the other day outlining all those observations. There was a couple of wee silly mistakes I made when I was talking about some stuff, and also I wanted to show a wee bit of additional information. So, one of the daft mistakes was that originally, when talking about the turbines, I had read out this information here about the hub height of the V164s being 105 meters, and then later I was speaking to Tim in the chat and incorrectly was trying to summarize the information for him and incorrectly stated that these V164s started at a minimum of 120 meters for hub height. So that was just I don't know where I got that from, but it was a stupid mistake anyway. But it's just to make sure that I'm not trying to claim that the figures are different. So 105 meters is obviously the accurate figure according to the manufacturer, with potential for up to 140 meters. But there's no way that I can say anything above 105 meters without having any specifics about the site. So it was just me misremembering and making the wrong statement to Tim. And just close that. Similarly, the way I was speaking about something when I was talking about Google Earth, I think it kind of sounded misleading, which was that I was talking about how Google Earth reported the elevation for this observation over at Leith while we were standing over here, and it was stating that it was saying 10 meters in Google Earth, then switched over to show it and showed that it was 5 and 6 meters. And it was really just to make sure that nobody thought that I was trying to claim it was 10 meters. I did actually think it was 10 meters, which is obviously why I said it. And I'm not sure why that figure was, why I thought it was that. Specifically, the only thing I can think of is that I kind of vaguely remember on the day Jed had he had an app on his phone that measured elevation, and he was testing that out. And I honestly don't remember if he measured it up at the wall and what figure he got, but it's possible maybe he did that and got 10 meters on his phone. But I'm just guessing here. As I say, for some reason the figure 10 meters was in my head, but I just want to make sure that again it's no me trying to say it's one thing or the other. I don't have an exact elevation for here because I don't believe that Google Earth is entirely accurate, but 5 meters I would say is a fairly conservative figure, and it's pretty fair to say that it's sitting somewhere between 5 and 10 meters and leave it at that. So again, that was just a correction, really, just to make sure, just to clear things up. One of the other things is that, obviously I was trying to get through everything as quickly as possible, so there was a couple of stupid little things that I missed out, and one of those things, why I keep scrolling back, was to, I mentioned all these places, but I didn't really show the different distances to them. So I thought I could quickly show the distances so people have got an idea. Let's see. So from this main elevation point, let's see. It's not cooperating. Hold on. Sorry. Right. Okay. Got it now. Just zoom out a bit. Right. So to the cars building, which was the building that was kind of cut in half that we got from the lower elevation. It's about just short of 9.5 miles, 9.35 miles, where I've got it sitting there. So round about 9.5 miles for that one. And then just get it to scroll back out. The island, as I had said in the when I was talking through the video, I did say it was about 3 miles, the one that was directly out in front of us, which was the closest point of observation. So that's actually just over 3 miles. That's near enough 3.5 miles there. Over to the rigs, the pair of rigs. It's showing at just over 13 miles. For Phaedra Island, which is the longest observation I believe, it's just shy of 16 miles. And then Gosford House, which was the stately home that looked kind of cut in half, that's just near enough, around about 11 miles. So, as well as all the obvious obstruction that was getting shown in all these different observations, it'll give you an idea of the different sort of mileages involved. So you're talking sort of 9, 11, 13 and 16. And then of course the boats were somewhere out, when you look at it through the camera, it appeared as if they were more or less in line on the water. So they're probably sitting around somewhere between, say, 9 and 12 miles. It's hard to really say exactly where the boats were, the two sets of two boats that were sitting somewhere between the rigs and somewhere down here. So just to give people a better idea of some of the distances involved in some of those observations. And the other thing was that with everything that I was going through, I missed out one set of observations, and this was another observation that was done here, and you can see it marked here. So when we very first took most of the observations that we did that day, we did 2 elevations, and it was back here. But we then walked along this way and went to this point here, right on the end. There's a little lighthouse here. I'll show you photographs to match all this stuff in a sec. So we came along here and we took some photographs looking over to the bridges that span over the Forth. So it's over here at North Queens Ferry. You've got obviously the famous Forth Rail Bridge. You've got the old Forth Road Bridge, and not showing on this is the newly built Forth Road. So there are 3 bridges covering this area, and we were trying to see if we could get observations from that lighthouse across. So just quickly, actually, I'll do a measurement on that, and then I'll show you the couple of photographs to just go along with what I'm talking about. Let me see. So from there to the first bridge, it's 8 miles, and then if you were to go back the way towards the third bridge, which isn't shown on here, it's about 9 miles. So 8 to 9 miles from this lighthouse to the bridges that we're viewing. So now that you've got an idea of that, I'll just show you the pictures. I've just put a couple in here just to make it easier. So on the way down to the lighthouse, I stopped. So hold on. So this was walking down towards it. I just took a sort of random picture facing towards the lighthouse as we were heading down. And then again, when we got a bit closer, looking down the walkway that we were walking along to get to the lighthouse. And this wide shot incorporates everything you need to know, which is that this is where we're going to go, right down to the end, to the lighthouse. And if you look over here to the left, you can see the bridges in the background there. So that's the observation. And another point, just a random thing, one of the points when I was taking photographs across before we actually made it down to the lighthouse, and I just took another picture with my phone to show the P900 setup, taking, where it was set up, taking those pictures. So let me just make sure I've got the right ones. Should be this. So from the position I just showed you there with the camera up on the grass, this is the kind of shot I was getting of the bridges. Now you can't really see properly right through, with the spans anyway, rather the sports. So you can see the rail bridge and then the older road bridge support there. And you can see that there's so much of the base support on each of these showing from that point. And then we moved along to the lighthouse and took lower elevation shots. But for a comparison, I had an old photograph that I'd taken another time I was through in Edinburgh, and this is the total size of these supports that you should be seeing. Right. So I got interrupted there by a stupid message on the computer, so as I was about to say, this is an old photograph I took of the Forth Road Bridge, and this is how big those supports are. If you look at this, if you take the boat with this guy standing next to it as some kind of, a bit of context for the overall scale of them, you'll see that they're really pretty massive. So if you bear that in mind and then go back to these pictures that I'm about to show you, you maybe appreciate it a bit more. So say this was the further back shot from the grass. So, oops, and while it might have seemed that you were seeing the bottom of the bridge, if you compare now to what you ought to be able to see there's a fair bit of it actually cut off already. And then that's just the same shot, but just zooming in for a bit more clarity on it. And then when we moved into the lighthouse, this is more what you were seeing, just a bit of a lower elevation. So it makes a difference. You can't see any of the support anymore. It's just completely gone. And I think if you're looking really carefully, you can just about make a little bit on the top of that. But this, so just by changing the elevation a little bit and moving along to the end of the lighthouse, is cut off the base of the bridge. And I say this is about an 8 to 9 mile observation. So right, again, just same shot but zooming in, bit fuzzy though. Okay, so and then while we were along there, I took some random photographs of some of the things that we'd already been looking at in the other observations. So I was just going to quickly show them, and then that's us done, guys. So this was the north wind, which was if anybody watched, if you watched the other video and you know from the beginning of these observations, this boat was the very first thing that I took a zoomed in photograph of. It was just from a different angle, more kind of coming across this way, so you could only really see like this side of the boat. So this is more or less looking straight on. And again, if you compare that to the original photograph that was taken of the boat at the higher elevation, at the original observation point, you can see that more of it is missing behind the horizon. And then this was one of the groups of houses that you could see across the water. Can't remember the exact location for these, but I know that I'd pointed out a few. Oops. While I was doing that other video, that there was various places like this looking across the water where buildings were cut off. So it's unmistakable here that these are all cut off by the water. And then Gosford House again, just from a slightly different angle, and obviously a slightly different mileage, and obviously it would be slightly different elevation again from the third observation point. So it's just slight shifts in the overall observation point, the place the observer's looking from, but pretty much the same effect. If I remember it right, there's probably like a tiny little bit more shown in those windows in this observation than there was in the lower elevation shot from the previous one. But anyway, it was just to show a comparison shots from a different point of view. So the main thing was that I'd missed out those, the observations of the bridges, and I just wanted to quickly throw them in, just to add a little extra set in. So it wasn't just all the stuff out in the water here. We also got these couple of some quick shots looking down towards the bridges, and it was consistent every way. 8-9 miles this way, and between say 9 and 13 miles over this way, and then up to 16 miles going over in this direction and stuff. It was all the same overall effect in the kind of radius round about us. So that's it. I just wanted to put that little addition onto the video from the other day. So cheers.